Very excited. We've got a very interesting lineup.
A lot of good insights on what's next for the industry.
And encouraging Malaysian companies to think regional, to think global.
Global Malaysia Series is a very strong platform for Malaysia to develop further. Keep it up.
Now, when mobile was a mere catchphrase in the 90s, few had an inkling of its coming global influence. Barely 20 years on, telecommunications today is a $4.7 trillion industry, with service revenue alone accounting for nearly 3% of global GDP. Now, in other words, whoever controls the data and internet highways controls the world, and with Asia's bounties largely remaining a frontier market, there is everything to play for. The organizations they lead here in Asia are blazing trails, equal parts competitors, colleagues and confidants. Today, however, they come to us in the guise of evangelists, and they're going to be discussing the topic of regionalizations.
Gentlemen, in the mid to late 1990s, when both your organizations made the very difficult decision to expand out of your home countries, it can't have been very easy. This was a time of great change, regulatory change. The internet was making its headwinds into the global economy. The decision tree that enabled you to go out of your comfort zones, the warm and fuzzy confines of the country, can't have been easy. Perhaps, Sigve, you can tell us what it was like in those days, those early hedonistic days.
To answer your question, it was not really a sophisticated decision tree. It was quite simple. It was a belief that one day mobile phones will be affordable for the masses. One day people will be connected through wireless devices. One day the world is going mobile. That was the simple philosophy. The first investment that Telenor did in Asia was actually in Bangladesh, 1997. And people said, you guys must be either out of your mind or you must be seeing something that nobody else sees. Because this is one of the poorest countries on the globe. How come you think they will be able to have afford mobile phones? And going back, the first business plan, I think forecasted that 10 years later, meaning 2008, 2009, we estimated that there will be around 1 million mobile subscribers in that country. So we thought we were very bullish in the business plan. Today, our company in Bangladesh has 47 million customers alone. So I think the philosophy that we had, that mobile phones are going to be for the mass people, that happened to come true. And that is the wave we have been riding on when we invested also into 5 other countries in Asia, just to take the opportunity of big markets, big populated markets, demanding mobile phones, and us being there to provide them with services.
In terms of going back to your question on new country, obviously we have not really gone into a new country because we are restricting ourselves to ASEAN and South Asia because we want to do very well within this region. But we did, as is publicly known, look into Myanmar as one country we wanted to venture. In trying to decide whether we want to enter into the country, obviously we look at in case of Myanmar, frankly, it's so straightforward, right? It's basically a one-player market, 1.5-player market, so to speak. Penetration's way below 5%, huge population of 70 million, and the opportunity is perhaps the last 1 or 2 countries in the world that have this kind of environment. So it's pretty clear. But if you want to talk about in general, we do look at the socio-economic, political, of course the market structure, competition and so on and so forth, and to decide whether we want to go to the country, and finally where do we differentiate within that competitive environment. That's how we would, before we decide to go to the country.
Let me first explain how it works in Telenor. Norwegian government owns 54% of Telenor, the rest is in the stock market. However, the government do not influence or manage Telenor on a daily basis. As a majority shareholder, of course, they nominate people to the board, but the entire board are having directors which are professional. There is no government bureaucrats or any nomination like that. And the management, there is no bureaucrats in the management either. It's a professional run company which happen to be owned majority by Norwegian government. And I think that's important, because if you want to do this, you need to distinguish between ownership and management. But then to your question, I think it helps us because what we have seen in Asia, that there are 2-3 areas which I think it's very important if you want to go abroad. One is that you need to take long-term commitments. This is not the place where you go in, you build a business, you make some money and you go home. That doesn't work. You need to take those very long-term bets, and you need to be able to go through all the ups and downs. And we have been through a lot of ups and downs. Lately now in India, or we also happen to get a license in Myanmar. There will be a lot of ups and downs before we start taking out dividend from our Myanmar investments. So you need to be able to do that, take those very long-term positions. And to have the government or a stable majority owner helps you to do that. Secondly, you need to be very pragmatic, and you need to be able to stand up even though when you are being challenged, not run away for short-term reasons. And that's also something that a long-term government majority shareholder helps us to do. So I will say that overall that helps us as a Norwegian company to go abroad and especially deal in markets like we are in Asia. Of course, they will not take risk like a hedging fund does. We are not in that business. So they will be more risk averse, especially when it comes to, I would say, governance. So, for example, when Telenor is looking at entering a new country, take Myanmar as one example. We decided then to bid for a license in Myanmar. There were 93 bidders, and we happened to be one of the 2 that actually won the license. When that was discussed in Telenor, also with the owners, I think the main discussions were not really about the business plan as such. It was more about how will we be able to operate in such an environment. Because we have a very, very clear policy when it comes to absolutely no tolerance for corruptions, when it comes to working conditions, when it comes to way of doing business. So I think it was more discussions around that. So if you think about a risk averse being, can we operate in some of these markets? Yes, the government as a majority owner will be risk averse, and they will expect us to follow the policies that are set by the government as a majority owner. So this is important for us. But if you think about risk averse, about taking bets, I will say no. And it's exactly the same as Dato Jamal said, these long-term perspectives. When we entered India in 2008, the Telenor share price fell 25% in one day. And people, the minority investors, didn't like that at all. And since then, they have been criticizing us heavily until the last couple of quarterly presentations, where we finally start getting a little bit recognitions for what we have done. And starting to get a little bit understanding that if you want to be a growth company, you need to be where the biggest growth is, which is in India. So I think it's not. I wouldn't say risk averse. I would more say that they will be very specific on certain elements when they are asking us to consider risk. It's not only about the money. It's also very much about the environment and the way we do business.
We moving to new country. One of the lessons learned is about picking the right partners is extremely important. The person who has the same kind of overall long-term objectives, right? So this is extremely important. And secondly, obviously, you have to make sure you have the right team. Hopefully, predominantly local team to help you manage the team to the company. So those are some of the lessons learned.
Yeah, I will be quite what should I call it? Modest about the challenges in Myanmar. This is not going to be easy. More the political part of it. You are dealing with a new government. You are dealing with a government which do not have all the rules and regulations in place. We are yet to get the license, even though we were awarded the license back in June. A lot of issues. We are also dealing with a previous military regime, which we also need to be careful about. We will also have, I don't know how many letters we have got from NGOs, from transparency organizations that tells us that we will watch every move you do. So all this we are absolutely take very, very seriously. On top of that, we are dealing with a lot of operational issues. Think about it. We have committed to roll out services out in the small villages. where they don't have any power. 1/3 of the country does have electricity. There is no distribution. There is no business. There is no roads. There is nothing. And to do this is way beyond what we ever have done before. Yes, we will utilize some of the experience we have from neighboring markets, especially like Pakistan, Bangladesh, India, but also utilize what we have from Malaysia, because we are not only offering voice to this market, we are also offering data.
Of course, talent is my favorite topic. In fact, the first month when I joined this company, apart from our financial objectives we set up for 2015, we said to ourselves, we must build talent. And we have a couple of measurements, many measurements. One of them is we must develop 100 top-notch future CEOs and CXOs. And related to that, we must build a brand of, shall I say, a talent factory brand. It must be a talent factory, and the brand is a CV brand that everyone should be very proud of to have the word Axiata in their CV. It's not, of course, it's easier said than done, but to build a top-notch talent, we must recognize that it got to be from benchmark as in regionally or worldwide, world class. It cannot be benchmarked within, it cannot be Jago Kampung, it must be benchmarked against the best in the region. So because of that, we start with the more aggressive, massive change in our management team to bring some of the best people. So the key to talent, the way I look at it, is you must have top-notch management in all the companies. And if you have to drastically change the management team, which we did, the first 2 years, 50% of management team across the whole group, 50 of them will kind of either redeploy or change. The moment you brought in great people into the team, they will bring great people below them, and so on and so forth. Because if you have a mediocre guy, they will bring in mediocre guys below. So you get a tremendous effect all the way down. So there's no magic to it. Just we have to be extremely, shall we, quite aggressive initially to bring all these top people across the whole world. Actually, we have people from coming from GLC is kind of strange. If you look at my management team, at least initially, people, we have Dutch, we have German, we have American, we have of course the Chinese, Indians, and Malays, and so on and so forth. It's a very much diversity was and is our strategy by itself. So we developed this whole team across the group, and we expect them to develop, to bring in good people. And then at the same time, then we have time for development, because once you have a pretty good management team, you can start to build management. And 3 years down the road after the Axiata exists, we now start to do a lot of rotation. So we have the principle of what we call the personal development. In other words, when we develop people, they have to develop themselves. What we call the other one is experience-based, which is we kind of rotate a lot of people. In fact, most of the countries, we stop this concept of vertical promotion, right? People don't get just promoted vertically. You must go horizontally and then diagonally, not vertically straight away. So a lot of people now being rotated from maybe CFO to even non-CFO, which we did a couple of times. There's one person from marketing to head of all the technology and IT aspects, so that they learn. So a lot of horizontal movement were done. Then the third aspect is the, shall I say, the development aspect. So actually we spend a lot, millions and millions in training and development for middle and top management, and also lately on technical too. I'm talking about millions, right? We partner with INSEAD, we partner with a few companies to develop customized modules for ours, not the typical boring management style, but extremely customized for Axiata itself. And lastly, it's relationship-based. So we build a mentoring system in whole company, so that people mentor certain other people outside their own direct responsibility. So with these 4 areas of experience, personal development, mentorship, relationship, and development, we managed to build quite a good set of people already. So we now have about 116 people in a top notch, where we are actually looking at them. And one of them became a CEO, will become CEO this January. 3 became COOs, and 1 or 2 CFOs, and there'll be more will be developed. So it's been quite a nice progression from where we started. Now then the next question is how do we merge that with the national aspirations? And we think it's quite natural, because when I say national aspiration, it doesn't have to be just Malaysia. We have Sri Lanka, they have their own national aspiration. Bangladesh, they have their own national aspiration. So we make sure that a priority will be given within the for the locals, right? So similarly, we have the 721 rule, whereby in all the countries we operate, we want to have, as a rule of thumb, 70% managed locally by Bangladesh, managed by Bangladeshis, and so on and so forth. 20% from the group. This is where we send people from the group, including Malaysians, to be. We have CFO in Indonesia, a Malaysian. We have a product head in Bangladesh. We have a Malaysian already as the CFO in Cambodia, and so on and so forth. So we allow, and vice versa. We have Bangladeshis and Indians in other countries. That is a very important part also of our development. So all this we look at it is just to build talent for the country, and therefore, well, the last 10% actually is people from anywhere in the world. We are very conscious of the fact that it cannot be just us and us. We always want to inject people of different skills and background, maybe even different industry in our group. So that's been very clear rule of thumb that we operate. But because of that because the fact people are now intermingling with other races, other nationalities, other skills, they themselves get developed. So, and therefore we are able to not only develop talent, but also meet the national aspirations of the respective countries, including and especially Malaysia.